All right, welcome back for week 5 of cross country training for the summer of 2024. It's already July, and so for many of you guys, you might be thinking, all right, what lies ahead? We have about just over a month before the season kicks off, and what sort of things can I do to get ready for cross country or maybe for another sport this fall? And how can I get in shape? And so I've got a few tips for you here today, as well as just the going through our training plan that we have available for you guys. So, lots of different things coming up in July, and a couple things I want you to think about first and foremost. If you haven't signed up for the cross country camp that's coming up in about 3.5 weeks, actually it's at the end of July, so a little bit longer than that, 4 weeks. If you haven't signed up for that yet, make sure you do that. It's an awesome time. It's a good chance to get to catch up with people. If you haven't met any guys from the team, it's a good chance to meet people. And it's also a good chance if you've been before, it's a good team bonding experience. We have runs that we do every day. We have some ultimate frisbee that we do, as well as a lot of other activities. And once again, you'll get to learn a lot about the sport. If you still need to sign up for it, there's this QR code on the right-hand side. And if you have already signed up, there's a QR code on the left-hand side for filling out information about your what t-shirt size you want, and also some medical information that we need just to make sure we're all prepared for you guys to show up on that day. Once again, that's the last week of July and first couple days of August. It's Monday through Friday. And if you have any questions on that, let me know. So as far as training goes for this week, and remember this, we send out this each week. So if you're unfamiliar with what we're going through here, this is a weekly schedule that we go through that talks about the different types of runs that you can do, and a good way to get into shape if you haven't started yet at this point in the summer is not to look at this and say, okay, I don't want to do any of it because it doesn't make sense to me, or maybe it seems too difficult. If you're kind of just getting started at the beginning of July, go back to the week 1 video that I sent out, and you can start there, or maybe start on week 2 or 3. And you can kind of build up to where we are. It doesn't have to be, if you're just starting out, that you're starting in week 5, which is people who've already kind of gotten into a certain amount of shape. But with week 5, we're really starting to build in some additional base of miles, whether you're in group A, B, or C. And so that, once again, these different groups just represent how much training you're going to be doing, how many miles you're going to be doing, as well as maybe the difficulty of some of these workouts. Now, all the workouts that I schedule for you guys this summer are effort-based, and that is because it's going to be necessary to sometimes back off on a hot day. And this particular week is going to probably have that associated with it as well. We're going to have some cooler weather on Monday and maybe a little bit into Tuesday, and then the rest of the week is going to be pretty hot. So you might have to adjust some of your running back a little bit, or just go at an easier pace. So for those of you guys who noticed my message out on the GroupMe, we are meeting up on Monday and Wednesday of this week. And Monday and Wednesday, Monday we'll be at Forest Park at the Visitor Center at 7:30 a.m. And Wednesday we're going to be at Chaminade at 6:30 a.m. And we're going to be doing some speed, as you can see here. So if you haven't gotten in any speed work this summer, this is a great chance just to come out. I know it says 1 to 2 miles of warm-up, so it's going to run pretty much like a typical practice that we would, where you'll, once again, get your legs loosened up. You'll do a 2-mile fast-paced workout, and then a couple 400s, and then cool down. If you haven't run much this summer, we're not going to toss you into this full thing. We'll probably have you do 1.5 miles and then do a couple 400s after that. But once again, come out. Don't be intimidated by this. We'll work with you on getting you into shape while also not beating you up too much. And so with each of these different training plans, remember to follow the kind of guides for how fast you should go. Long, slow distance is just that. You're trying to build up some distance without really pushing your body to a fast-paced extreme. And that's particularly important when it's really hot out. We'll talk a little bit more about core and strength at the end, but just remember, this is just a guideline on days that you can be doing these workouts to get your core strengthened before the season starts. That's really important, especially for preventing injury, but also just being a strong runner. So for all this, make sure you're following along with this. Once again, the tempo run is on Wednesday, and then a fartlek is on Saturday. And for those of you guys who don't know what a fartlek is, we'll talk about it more at the camp at the end of the month. So we have 2 group runs this week. Once again, this on Monday, we're going to actually be meeting at Visitor Center in Forest Park. And on Wednesday, we're going to be meeting at Chaminade in the weight room at 6:30 a.m. And I know with those of you guys who aren't familiar with the campus, it's kind of located down Cemetery Lane. If you haven't signed up for Strava, I keep reminding you guys about this, but once again, just click on this or scan this QR code and you can join our group. It's a great way to connect with your teammates, particularly if you haven't seen them since last cross-country season, and a great way just to encourage one another while you guys are training for the upcoming season. If you have not also joined our GroupMe, you can send me an email with your phone number. That's the best way to actually join, is to get messages on your phone, because that way you can actually track it a little bit easier. You can also sign in on a computer, and that's another way to kind of keep in touch. But once again, most of you guys want to use a phone, and that's going to be an easier way to keep in touch with what we're doing and any changes that might be coming up. So scan this, join the GroupMe. And if you have any questions about it, as always, send me a message. I mentioned this last week, but once again, we're starting to get into the peak heat times of the summer. And so it might take you a couple hours or maybe even a day to recover from a hard run that you might have. There's some of you guys have been posting runs in the middle of the day where it might be 95, 100 degrees. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're getting some electrolytes, replenishing that. I know after I've been finishing some runs, I have been drained for a while, and it takes a lot of intentionality to get yourself back and recovered. So make sure you're taking time to do that, and don't just be sitting out in the sun and not compensating for the water loss that you might have had throughout a run. If you are going on a run and you know that it's going to be hot on a particular day, make sure you run early. Make sure you find shady spots and paths. You can actually plan your route. If you can kind of be observant and see some spots either on the Katy Trail or on the Grants Trail or around Forest Park or even just around your neighborhood, try and find spots where you can be in the shade and a little bit protected from the sun on those hot days. Also make sure that you are starting off and conserving yourself on pace, and that can help you recover faster, and particularly if you're working on rehydrating, you can feel better for the next run. And I keep encouraging guys, make sure you're meeting up with one another. Don't just say, I'm going to run every run this summer by myself. That gets pretty difficult, particularly to stay motivated and on task with all those different runs. And so don't just shy away from scheduling a run. It might cost you an extra 30 minutes of your time, but I guarantee it's well worth it to actually get a chance to meet up with someone else on the team. And the group runs are a great chance to do that. We'll be at Chaminade for the first time this summer on Wednesday. So if you haven't joined us for any runs, that's a great one to come out to. And it's, once again, going to be a good time to just get to see a little bit of our weight room activity as well. So in order to get ready for August, and I'm going to move this down so you guys can see this because this is really important. A lot of guys have come into the season and not had their physical already. I really would like everyone to come out for the season ready to go and physicals submitted to the nurse by Friday, August 9th. So if you haven't gotten your physical scheduled or if you haven't completed it yet and you know you have one coming up, make sure you go onto Privet and check the status of whether or not you can compete because once again, the school is wanting you to be healthy and ready to go and checked out by a doctor. And so make sure you have that submitted. These are instructions on how to do that if you haven't created an account on Privet, or if you had and you don't remember how to do it, check this out. First day of practice is Monday, August 12th at 3 p.m. and we'll most likely be meeting in the Oak Grove, but I'll send out a message about that sooner once we kind of see what the campus is going to look like at that point. And so just make sure you're paying attention for that. Put it on your calendar. Make sure you mention to your boss if you're working that you're going to be starting practice on the 12th. I know some of you guys might have vacations still scheduled or other things, but once again, really want the entire team to be out on Monday, August 12th at 3 p.m. Now, number three, this is an important one. A lot of you guys came to me before the end of the school year, and you talked about some goals that you have for your season coming up. And so, if you have mentioned it, or even if you just have goals in your head, think about how you've worked to accomplish those goals during the summer. Maybe you've put in some good time in the weight room. Maybe you've gotten in some runs throughout the day on a pretty good number of days in the summer, or maybe you've been cross training, or whatever it might be. Or maybe you haven't started anything yet. Maybe you've thought, I'm going to wait until August, or wait until the season actually starts to get my training kicked off. Wherever you stand, I highly encourage you to get out and come out with us and train with the group. And also just make sure you set high goals for yourself. The great part about this sport is to get a chance to challenge yourself and really try to see what you can do that makes you a stronger athlete and a stronger person, both mentally and physically. So set high goals for yourself and make sure you try to work to achieve them, and know that's my job to help you get there. And we'll be doing that on the team days that we all meet up, but also make sure you cheer one another on. Lastly, weights and core are important. So if you have not started trying push-ups and sit-ups and core, that could be everything from planks to Russians to all the other core exercises that we've done over the years. Make sure you are doing that. Don't come into August with feeling like you are behind and trying to play catch-up. So anything you can do on that, if it's 3-4 times a week, would be really good, and you'll come into the season so much more in shape and ready to go than you would otherwise. Just a reminder to get the gear that you need. The sooner you can start looking for deals, the better off you'll be going into the season. And once again, these are some of the critical things, and we'll talk about more as we get into the camp. I know some of you guys know this quote, and others maybe don't. But don't think that if you haven't started training at this point in the season, or haven't really kicked it into the gear that you would like to, don't think that your season is already decided. Make sure to set yourself a goal that you can meet, or maybe even a little bit beyond it. And I like this quote from the movie Invictus. It's from Nelson Mandela, and he says, "In order to build our team," he says, "our country, we must all exceed our own expectations." I have high expectations for us this year, guys, and I really think we're going to do well. And the best way that we can do to get there is for each of us to try and push ourselves to do our best. Hope to see you guys out on one of the group runs this week. And if you don't, or if I don't, I hope to see you guys afterward, and I hope you have a happy 4th of July. Thanks, guys.